There we go.
Okay.
How you doing?
It is. I'm doing great. It's amazing to see you because we hear your name, but we never see you. No pictures, anything.
Exactly. Yes. Yes. It's good to talk to you. Good to
Yes,
talk.
it is definitely an honor to be able to talk to you. So yeah, I'm here in England. I was born in England, went to high school in Nigeria, went to college in the States, and
Oh,
so a lot of when I'm talking about sort of a lot of stuff from the 80s and 90s, it will mirror some of my time in Nigeria, some of my time in the States, and then some of my time over here. So I appreciate you taking the time this evening.
absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, Nandi.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I got a whole bunch of things. Does that pop up on
No,
your
no,
end?
nothing shows. No, just yourself.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Very good.
Well, Cal, we have an international audience from around the world. So I always ask my guests to start off to where you were born and raised.
I was born in the Bronx, in Bronx, New York,
Okay.
and I did my first. I guess my parents moved out of there when I was around 10.
Oh,
And then I moved to Mount Vernon, New York. And
ah,
that's where I was raised. So I went
okay.
to, junior high and high school, a little bit of elementary school. And that's where my roots are pretty much are in Mount Vernon, New York.
Okay, so it's interesting because I said we would always just assume yes, you're from Mount Vernon and stuff, but actually being born and raised brief, for your first 10 years in the Bronx. I recently just saw a documentary about the origins of hip hop, and Chuck D was presenting it, and they painted such an interesting picture about the Bronx, one where everything goes with the hip hop, but then also a place of neglect and derelict as well. What was your experience in those early days before you moved?
Well, none of that. My parents, we lived in a pretty nice neighborhood in the Bronx, and they
Okay.
sheltered us from, my brother. I have an older brother and a younger cousin who kind of grew up with me, and we were sheltered from all that. We didn't have to deal with any neglect or, um, all the strife and the struggles of the Bronx and New York City as a whole. We were sheltered from that. So, by the grace of God and my parents, I had a pretty happy, fulfilling childhood in the Bronx.
Okay. Any idea why you guys moved to Mount Vernon then?
You know what? Parents wanted to move to the suburbs. They
Okay.
want. We lived in an apartment in the Bronx, and my parents wanted a house, so they moved
Ah.
us out to the suburbs and trees and grass, and which we don't get a lot of in the Bronx.
Okay.
And that was a very very happy childhood, and just moving up, I guess, is what they did.
Okay. And
Mhm.
then in the and I guess for some of us who aren't in the States, when you think of Mount Vernon, I mean, apart from the fact that Albert Shaw and Heavy D keep talking about it, money, and we don't really have a picture of it. So is it like so it's like the countryside, a quieter town and or
Yes, yeah, it's definitely, well, I wouldn't say countryside, but
okay.
it's definitely slower than the city. We're right outside of New York City. It's a whole different county. Um, as I said, just more houses and just the more suburban lifestyle that a lot of people always look as moving up from the city. But
Okay.
very, very, very quaint town. Um, just a beautiful place. I
Okay.
was lucky to grow up there. Yeah.
Wow. And then we know you're into music, but then how did you get into music then as a kid?
Good question. My dad was a musician. He used to play in clubs in New York City when I was a child. I was always had musical instruments in my home. I grew up with them around me, and just being able to have drums and piano and guitar, I was surrounded by the instruments. So as a child, I picked it up, especially piano. That was where I really found that as to be my passion. Even took piano lessons when I was 6 or 7 years old. So it was in the home. It was definitely my parents, especially my dad.
Was he a full-time musician or was it just a hobby for him?
No, it was a hobby for him, but I mean, it was professional. I mean, he was a school teacher,
Okay.
dean, college professor who
Wow.
on the side would, after that was done, he would go and do gigs at night, and then come home and sleep for an hour and go teach, in the New York City school system. He was a trooper, so that was his passion. He was a great singer. And the singing didn't come down to me, but definitely the love of piano definitely did. I was surrounded by it.
Oh, it kind of mirrors what because I'm a child psychotherapist and that's what I do during the day. So the clinics and stuff, and I'm also in grad
Uh,
school. And so, but then in the evening, so it's about 9:30 at night. So I'm doing this and I love doing this. And it helps me not get too focused on the mental health side and I can just separate. So when you talk about how your dad just mirrors the two, I can just imagine how you need to get away from when you're working with kids and stuff and the stresses of things and just having an outlet where you can just, not overthink and stuff. Okay, Cal. I'm not sure what happened. You just froze. I thought you were smiling, and I'm like, okay.
there we go.
Yeah. So I was just saying how your dad mirrors what I that sense of you do work with kids and in the system, and then you just want to have a break from it.
Yes, yes. If exactly, you got a day job but you got a passion and you got to fit it into your life, wherever that time is, it could be overnight. You got to do it.
Yeah. So for you, when you were learning the music and seeing what your dad was doing, was it ever something that you really said, "Wow, I can make it into this"? Or what was it for you? What was music for you?
No, Namdi, I never saw myself being in the music industry. It just my parents were educators, so
Ah,
college, it was college and go on and get into business. That's what I was trained to do. And um, Albie Shore, as you mentioned, he's my younger cousin. So when I went away to college, him and Heavy D and Eddie F, they were really close buddies in high school. And when Heavy D and Eddie F got in the business, Albie Shore followed along. And he said, we could do this. And he knew I had musical talent. So Albie Shore was telling me, "Oh, we got to do this." I said, "Man, I left music alone a long time ago. I'm in school." And you could feel Albie Shore was just driven to be in the music industry. And it was one summer I came home from school, and Eddie F would come over, and we would just make music, and we were making magic. We didn't know it, but it was like, "Whoa, this is really cool." I even went back to school, and then when we met Andre Harrell at Uptown, that's what kind of started swaying me to say, maybe I better pursue this, in the music industry.
wow. I mean,
Yeah.
what were you studying in college? Uh,
It's
okay,
not
no.
what I want to do at that time,
Oh, sorry,
you
it
know.
froze for a second. I was saying
Oh,
what you studied in college.
finance and accounting.
Oh wow. Okay, that you were just doing
Yes.
business. Okay.
Yes, yes. And I mean, at that age, I just wasn't driven with the studies. I just felt this excitement that everybody around me was dealing with back at home. And I went to school a long, far away from where I grew up. So everyone else was in this industry. And I'm like, wait, what am I doing? And um, Albie Shaw and Eddie F was like, this is what you need to be doing. You got the talent. And we were brought to Andre Harrell, Andre just put us in the studio and said, let me see what you got. And Eddie F was kind of overseeing it. And we had no idea what was going to come out. But you know what? God was on our side.
What about your parents? What did they think about?
No, you got 1 semester. You got 6 months, which, as you know, is not even nearly enough time to get in the industry. But God, time, and I'll be sure I had a deal in 6 months with Warner Brothers. From making demos in my basement and leaving school, to getting a record deal at Warner Brothers Records in 6 months.
Wow.
So that was it. Yeah, because if it didn't happen, I had to go back to school.
Wow.
So it, it it's amazing, just to hear that, because it never happens that fast, but it did. I'll be sure.
Yeah. So, but then how does it work for yourself? Because I remember when I interviewed Glenn G Wiz, and he was telling the story about when Heavy and Eddie got signed. And I said, but what about, were you signed with Troy? And he says, well, not necessarily, because they were signed and then we were sort of part of it. And eventually they kind of signed, but initially that they got signed, and they just sort of were looking after us. So when Al gets signed, what happens to you? Do you get signed alongside him, or? Oh. Yeah, sorry guys. So it keeps freezing as we're doing the interview, where as I'm talking, it just seems to freeze. So I'll find out. Okay, anyhow, it keeps just stopping. Do you know?
I am so sorry. I don't know if that's on my end or your end. I'm so sorry. I mean, I might not have a good connection. I don't know.
Oh, okay, okay. I was giving. But the question I asked was the when Al got signed. How was it a joint package? Because I know that okay, his name is on the contract, but how does it mean that you can feel secure that?
Yes. Andre Harrell, who also had a management company to go along with his record company, he signed me as a producer to his
Oh,
management company. Yeah. So I was taken care of contractually, financially as a producer through Andre Harrell's management.
okay, okay. So he
Yes.
kind of mirrored what Ross was doing, Ross Management, and then label it separately.
Exactly. So I was able to work on other artists on Uptown Records also. So that's where I said, okay, this is worth me, leaving school for.
Oh, okay. Now,
Mm-hmm.
but how old were you at this time?
Ooh, I was 20, 21 years old, around there. Yeah, 21.
Okay, so
So
within that,
I was still, I, I'm sorry, go ahead.
yeah, no, no, you're still what? Go ahead, sorry.
Oh, so yeah, so I would, I still had time. If I didn't like what I was doing, I
Yeah.
could still go back to school. But no, the success came so fast. Everyone looked at me like, no, you're in the industry now. You just got a triple platinum album. So it happened really, really fast.
Wow. Now, I think the question I've always been talking to, I would say, of all my guests is that when things happen that quickly, and you were studying, okay, you're studying finance and accounting, the music industry, it has a very different way of working. It's not like a regular job where here's your pay, here's the work you do and stuff, because you're creating intellectual property and you're creating things that has long-term values. How much of that did you personally think about? Like, okay, what am I signing to? What am I? So you know what you ownership and stuff.
Yeah, now I'm at that age, you don't know what you're doing. And I have, my parents were behind me the whole time, but you feel like, oh, they don't know anything about this industry. I know what I'm doing. And you wind up signing things you really should not have been signing.
Wow.
It happens. That's exactly what happened to me. Did not understand the industry at all. But you know what? I came out in one piece. But it's that's what happens, especially when the younger you are. This
Mm.
industry will try to put you in some situations that you don't want to be in.
Yeah, when I interviewed Shanice Wilson, she said that because her mum knew the industry, she felt that they used it against her because they couldn't take as much advantage of her. So it actually stifled her career after the first album. So the more you know, the less they really want to invest in you.
Yes, yes. You know, the music industry, they have a plan, and that plan may not stretch. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for their business. So we understand that. But in the mean, you're still taking advantage, especially the kids, the young adults. If you don't, they're not going to tell you to go get an attorney. They're not going to explain to you the contract. So you're so excited that this is your shot. You're going to now be in the music industry, in the entertainment industry, and they may put four things in front of you, and you say, "Well, you know what? I'll sign these two, and then I'll have someone look at the other two." But those other two may be binding for the rest of your life. So this industry they know what they're doing, and it's up to each individual to make sure that you're looking out for your back, or you have someone looking out for you.
Now, I recently heard DJ Clark Kent in a podcast interview, and he said that he briefly worked as A&R at Elektra under Sylvie Rhone. And when he saw the contracts, he said, "Wow, this isn't great. I need to let them know." He was told that um, this this is the music business. It's up to them to get the knowledge, and we're not going to teach them. So you don't teach them what to do. And he felt bad about that, but it was how it was structured. But my concern then becomes: is it more for the Black artists? Because when I interviewed Take Six, they got signed to Warner in Nashville, and they got given a sort of a country music contract, which was, you keep all your stuff and you get all your generous bonuses and stuff, and they were taken care of compared to if they were signed to a Black label. And I do wonder, being in the industry, did you think that it is more geared towards Black artists not getting treated fairly, and compared, because especially since I was on Warner Bros., he might have seen the disparity?
Sure, that's a good question, Andy. And I think what it is especially in a situation with Uptown or a Def Jam, which were boutique labels. They weren't the big multi-conglomerate that Columbia or Warner Brothers or MCA at the time. So these are small businesses. They don't have a lot of capital to spend out and take care, have a bevy of attorneys to look over things. So those quote unquote, those Black small labels, no, they're not. They're in business too. They could be out of business the next year. So they really have to try to, I'm not going to say that not try to take advantage of people, but those contracts are going to be really heavy towards the label. Now, a situation that you just explained with Take Six, signed to a major, they want to do, because they want to do business correctly. They're going to be around. But those smaller labels, they don't have that protection. They could, as I said, they could be out on the street tomorrow, just like the artist. So that I saw that, in the industry, that, those newer companies, they're definitely looking out for themselves, and they say, well, you're not losing anything because you're new to this industry. So I think that they feel that if we both grow together, maybe the contracts will be a little bit more fair.
Okay. But then Al being signed to Warner Brothers, did he go directly with them, or he was still under Uptown but distributed by Warner?
Right. He was signed through Uptown, and then Uptown did the deal with Warner Brothers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, for the first album. Album, yes.
For his first album. Wow.
Nope, you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. Yeah, I'm still here.
There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, how did you? So because you said off that you started learning to play the keyboard and stuff as an there must be a difference, because I used to think that albums where you had a band in the studio making the music and then you sing over them, but I learned that the studios are pretty much programmed. So how did you take your knowledge of playing live instruments to actually recording an album?
You know what? I had some good people to direct me, and I learned from, direct to watch. Eddie F, who was at that time already comfortable and used to being in studio.
Wow.
And he knew the equipment. See, the equipment was something. I mean, I played a piano, so these keyboards that had all these different sounds and all that. Eddie F was able to introduce that to us, to myself, and I'll be sure. And then right after that, Teddy Riley, the great Teddy Riley, we worked under him, and he already had his sound. And he wasn't the Teddy Riley that we knew yet, but he was a genius. He's a genius. So we got to see him for a brief time working this equipment, this new equipment, and just being in the studio with these people, Eddie F and Teddy Riley, and watching what they do. That's how you learn.
Wow.
So I was able to kind of, I guess, just learn from those who are already in the studio and learn the craft.
Yeah, because Eddie, I used to just think he was just the DJ that just plays the record and scratches. But and as I said, from interviewing people from Donell to Jimmy Love and so many people, everyone says, look, Eddie was a different animal when it comes to production. Well, so at those days, was he a producer or was he just a DJ? What was his?
He was more of a producer than a DJ. Oh yeah, Eddie F, executive. He already had the executive in him at that time. So DJ was just what you saw, and he was a good DJ because he was a DJ in high school. But he knew the equipment. He's a drum master, drum machine master. He had all the drum sounds. He knew all the loops. That's what Eddie F was, as a producer, and then he had the ear. So even though he couldn't play music or didn't play music, he knew what the record was supposed to sound like. And that's what helped us because I was classically trained.
Yeah.
So he said, no, you want to dumb that down a little bit and do this and do that. And then, and then we all kind of said, oh, listen to these new sounds. And we put the sounds and the structure together. And that's how we kind of all came together with the demo, which led to the first I'll Be Sure album.
Yeah. At the time we were doing it, did you meet Timmy Gatlin?
I met him once. Yes, I sure did. Yes. Just one time, though, with Teddy in Harlem, because I know they were doing something together, and I went down to the studio, and he was with them, and very, very, very nice guy, talented guy, very good songwriter.
Yeah, and I did interview, but then I listened to your podcast on Jack, and the way you describe Teddy, especially, I mean, for those of us, because I would always say that I had my three favorite sort of entertainers are Michael Jackson, Steven Spielberg, and Teddy Riley. I mean, so you can imagine.
Very nice.
And I sort of got into music just by following his career and stuff. So did you know of him when you and Al got signed? Or did they introduce you to him after you got signed, or how did you?
Yes. We met him after. No. I'm sorry. It was before I'll Be Sure got the deal, but Teddy Riley was signed. Again, he's the producer guy, and so we had to go to Teddy's house for our first session to do the demos.
Wow.
Yeah, we went to his house.
Did you guys already come up with the songs and the music, or how did it work when it comes to creating like Off on Our Own, A Night and Day, and Rescue Me? Did you and Al write them together, or he?
Yes, yes. I usually created the music first. So
Okay.
I just created. That's my gift. I was able to create music, and then the artist, I'll be sure, would hear, and he would his gift is writing lyrics and melody. So he would lock in on my track and go, "Oh, this is what I hear. This is what I hear." And then we recorded the demos ourselves.
Ah,
They were raw. They didn't have the polish of a a signed artist yet. And then that's when Eddie F came in because he would hear and go, I hear this too. And then it would get to Andre, and then Andre said, I like that. Here's 3 or 4 songs. I want to put you with my signed producer, which was Teddy Riley. And then he
ah,
brought his style. But we wound up, Teddy was saying, no, no, you guys got this. I'm gonna
ah.
go do this other project, which was Keith Sweat. You guys got this. Y'all go do this. You got this. So I always have love for Teddy because he knew. He said, no, you don't need me. Y'all go do this. I'm gonna go do that. So that's
Wow.
how it usually worked. But the demo stage, myself and I'll be sure we took care of that.
Now you said that that he said the Michael Jackson. He said you guys that's going to be a hit. Was that night and day? What was the story?
Yes, we did. We demoed Off on Your Own at Teddy's house
Hmm.
and came out really good. And Teddy said, what's that other song? That other song. I really like that other song. And it had no title yet or anything. And they said, yeah, that Michael Jackson sounding song. And it happened to be, it was the demo for Night and Day. It didn't have a title yet or anything, but he heard the vibe of it and was like, I can hear Michael Jackson. This was like the Thriller days.
Wow.
And he said he already knew it wasn't produced yet. It was so raw. But he said the direction you guys got, that's a Michael Jackson song. And it turned out to be Night and Day.
Now you mentioned that that you guys did it, then he added his flavor to it, but then Andre said, "No, I prefer what you guys did."
Correct. That's exactly what happened. Um, it was Teddy he put together just a nice street version of it, but it kind of didn't mix well with the style of the record. And so he goes, no, let's keep it R&B pop. We don't want to really do the street thing because that was just Andre's movie. His movie was what he wanted to do with Albie Shore as an artist, and he
Yeah.
felt the more R&B pop direction was better. And which again, Teddy Riley was like, oh yeah, I like that. You're right. You're right. I gotta go do this other project anyway. You guys got this. So yeah, that was Andre's vision to go in that other direction.
What happened to the Teddy's version?
Wow. You know what? I don't know. I would love to if anyone ever had it, maybe he still has it. I
Oh,
have no idea, but it was great. It
oh,
was a
you
great
didn't.
version.
How come they didn't use it as a remix or B side or something like that? They didn't do stuff like that then.
You know what? No, you're so right. Hopefully, one of the studios here in New York City's got to have the master tape to that because it was totally different. It was a whole different direction that was very very effective. It was the genius of Teddy Riley on it. It was great.
That year of 1988, you guys came out with In Effect Mode. You had Guy, but you also had Make It Last Forever. I mean, that's you don't get any hotter, and even Johnny Kemp, but it's just got paid, and
Yes.
and my prerogative was blowing up. From the guy you saw in his house to then having pretty much every song that's on the radio, what was that like for you guys? See,
Uh, you know what, Namdi? We knew it. We knew he was that talented, and we knew he had a sound. Teddy had his own unique sound. You know, Jimmy, Jim, and Terry Lewis, they had their sound, the Minneapolis sound, and Full Force was big at the time, but Teddy's sound was definitely new. So we knew he was going to be big, and the industry was going to be looking for him. But on the same side, that's what we were being told, myself and I'll be sure. It's like, you know what? You guys got the street sound with orchestration. and layers of music and layers of vocals. You guys got your own sound. So we knew Teddy was going to be big, but everybody was telling us, you guys are going to be doing really well too. So
Yeah.
thank God.
Yeah, the reason I started off by telling you that I was in Nigeria when in the '88, so it was a massive hit, and especially in '98. So when your album doesn't just do well in the US and does well in the Britain, but also comes to parts of Africa like Nigeria, that's
Yes.
saying a lot about how it's going global. And I guess most of my guests didn't realize how their music transcended across to Africa at the time.
Yeah.
Did you guys realize outside of the US how big that In Effect Mode was, especially as a debut album?
No, no, we did not. Not at all. I'll be sure did some shows before the album came out in London. And, it was interestingly enough in London. And he got a very warm reception. But then everything was more domestic. Everything was more, all
Yeah.
the shows were here in America. And then we went to Japan a few times. And the appreciation for Albie Shore in Japan blew us away, So that was the first time we knew, wow, what we're doing that we're just making for ourselves, the entire world is appreciating. Yeah.
But how is it like then going from the fact that you're in a small suburb of Mount Vernon, coming from college, and within 6 months you become on Right On, Black Beach, charting, signed to Warner Brothers, Quincy Jones. How does one just get over the sudden? I know Alpha Al is different because he was the front man, but you're part of that front. So how was that for yourself? Just seeing,
Right. It was I don't think it took me years to really know that my music was now across the world. Still there?
So I think I lost you.
You said I'm still here. Can you hear me?
No sound.
Oh, I'm okay. All right. Oh boy. Okay.
Oops.
Let me know when you can hear me.
Can you hear me? No, I
Are you
can't.
there?
I
Am I
can't
there?
hear you.
I can hear you though. I can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me? I'm not
I
sure.
can hear you. Yes.
Hold on 1 second. Let me mute and then let me unmute. Hello?
I'm there. Can you hear me?
Oh no, I can't. I can't. The sound just disappeared.
Oh
I can't
boy.
hear you.
And I hear you very well. Okay, let me. How about now? Can you hear me now?
No, I can't hear you now.
Oh wow.
Unless maybe if you leave and come back in, I don't know.
Okay, how do I don't know how to do that. Leave. Okay, let me leave.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, this is an amazing interview, but we just having some technical difficulties. But hopefully, it it will be fine when he comes back in. Just hearing Cal just talk about those early days, talk about the journey, it's just amazing. And so, hold on 1 second. Okay, it should be.
All right. I am so
Oh,
sorry. Can you hear me now?
oh, I'm sorry. Oh, you know what? It was actually my fault. My headphones came out. Oh my goodness, I really apologize.
That's okay. That's
Oh,
fine.
please forgive me about that. Sorry. Um, so
It happens.
yes, I was like, wow. So I did ask how was the transition from, because one thing to get signed and get Andre's sort of blessing, but the global sort of just being there, because I don't know, most of us will not know what it's like being part of a sensation, stuff like that.
Now it was looking back, it was amazing because now everybody knew my name. I didn't tell everybody my name, but this industry now opened up, and these records, now everyone knew who I was. They didn't know what I looked like, and I didn't appreciate that for years. It was like, this is amazing, and to see this industry, which is a tough industry, open up to me so quickly and so young. Um, Being respected for what I did at 21, 22 years old, it was amazing. It really was, and it's not easy to get to that point and to get the respect from my peers, the other producers in the industry, people that I looked up to, Jimmy Jam and Teddy Riley, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis and Teddy Riley and LA and Babyface. Now I'm meeting these people and I get the respect from them. So it was overwhelming, to say the least. It really was.
So Jimmy, growing up, when you were listening to music, who were your sort of the producers who inspired you?
Good question. Stevie Wonder is one of the most incredible musicians, creative minds who ever walked the earth. And I
Wow.
still am a big Stevie Wonder fan, listening to his chord structures. And even as a child, I realized as a piano player that this was something different from everyone else.
Mm.
Quincy Jones, the way he made records and the sound that he got was so rich and melodic, but still dancey, and the quality of a Quincy Jones record. And then Jimmy and Terry, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. Those were the three that I definitely copied coming in. That was my homework, listening to those guys, as producers. Yes.
Yeah, when I spoke to Dal Simmons, I said one of the things I loved about Jimmy and Terry is that they sometimes they can go from working with the taboo artists like Alexander O'Neill, Sherelle, and SOS Band, and then they will go to Janis stuff, and then sometimes they'll go Boys to Men, they'll go to New Edition, and you won't necessarily know it. The sound didn't follow them. They're almost a chameleons. Like, okay, this is you. We're gonna make a sound for you, and that's why people don't recognize a lot of what they did because it didn't sound the same. I could always hear LA and Babyface track, either the drums and the chords, so you can know, okay, that's LA and Babyface. And to some extent, you could tell when Teddy was doing it. But with Jimmy and Terry, they knew how to just adapt to the artist as opposed to letting the artist adapt to them.
Absolutely. I've had Sherelle, good friend of mine. And I
Oh,
remember her
wow.
telling me that a long time ago. And she said, yeah, they take in the artist. They spend time with the artist before they make records for them, before they write for them. They want their records to be catered from the art. It's not them putting themselves on the artist.
Mm,
They want to encapsulize the artist in their records.
yeah, wow. So, I mean, when you so with all that, when you were creating in effect mode, did you guys then have a sort of an idea as to how which each songs and what you'd want to do, or is it just putting songs together and seeing what sticks?
Good question. No, Namdi, and I'll be showing myself, and Eddie was always around. Make records, make good records, do the best you can. There was no other way to do it. We couldn't go another direction. This is what we did. And if it worked, good. If it didn't, then it didn't, because we weren't seasoned yet. So this was it. And we through Andre, we had maybe 15 songs, and we took the best eight, 13 around there. And we had no idea what we were doing. We were learning on the job. And we had other not songwriters, let's say, but background singers and other musicians, and even the engineer. it was a family thing. And
Mm.
we had no idea we were putting together, but threw us in the studio, go do it, come out with the album, and that was it.
15 songs, you got 8 on the album. What happens to the other 7?
I think we used some of them on the second album.
Okay.
Some we gave to other artists.
Okay.
I remember No Matter What You Do, we gave to someone else, which we actually used for the second album.
Yeah, with
But it
Dan
was
Ross.
more, yes, very good. Yeah, we actually recorded that for the first album.
Oh,
And
wow.
but we got to a certain point. Now Miss Ross wasn't involved yet, but Albie Shore wrote that for the first album. And then
Oh.
there was a point where Warner Brothers they had plans because when they put Albie Shore's album, his single, they put Night and Day out. They put it out 2 months before the single actually came out. So he created such a buzz off of the video. Warner Brothers and Uptown said, "Oh, we got to get this thing going because we got to get this artist out. He's huge and he doesn't even have a single out, just the video." So that cut the album down to 8 records. They're like, "We got to get him out."
Oh, is it just because you had to rush? You didn't have time to work on it?
Yeah, pretty much because he was already doing press, and we weren't finished with the album yet, and he's huge, the videos got him everywhere, and the single was just coming out. So both parties said, no, we got to get this album out. So what point are you at? Even Teddy did a record or two just to help us get it going, and then Warner Brothers said, no, out, let's go, we got to get this thing out.
Wow. Yeah, because they did If I'm Not Your Lover, and then did the yeah, okay. Yeah, Timmy talks
Yeah,
about, and yeah, okay. Wow.
yeah.
Then for yourself, when did he first start to bring Cal West Break It Down? Was it on that first album, or was it the
Yes. It was the first album. Yeah. Al, as I said, he's my younger cousin, and we got so much love for each other. And he 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 wanted me to be a part of the act in the beginning, and that's just not me. It's not my personality. So when we were making the records, he wanted to make sure everybody knew my cousin is on here. He might not be in the group, but he's on. He's a part of this, and he just started putting my name in every record.
So when he was doing that at first, what did you say? You said, "No, come on, Stud, that doesn't sound right." Or what did you say?
I actually had a conversation with Andre Harrell. I said, "Is that legal?"
What do you mean legal? What do you mean?
I'm like, I don't know. This belongs to Warner Brothers. The Warner Brothers have a problem. And Andre looked at him. He scrunched up his face like, "No, of course he can do that." And once Al knew that was it. every record. So yeah, he was just looking out for family. I love him to death.
Yeah, because it made you worldwide famous. Because as I said, here I am in Nigeria, like, wow, what's in this Carl West? That's the guy, so your name is so synonymous with I'll Be Sure, especially on the music, and you start to subsequently get Diddy and everyone else and adding their names on the records and stuff. But it was yours sort of first sort of like continuously throughout, and it was like wow. And before producers were known, because people, you have to be a real music historian to know about what Jimmy and Terry were doing and stuff. Quincy as well, because Michael brought him on, but most of the times we didn't know the producers.
That's right. And I think also, it was just that young movement, the 87, 88, that young movement of kids, inner city kids. And this is our thing. We don't know how long we're going to be doing this. And it turned out to be 40 years, 30, 40 years. But it's like, this is our thing now. We're going to do it our way. And putting names and records and shout outs to your boys, that wasn't being done before that. So that's part of that movement. And definitely here in New York, all the producers, the rap producers, everybody, they wanted everyone to know who they were.
Yeah, well,
But
we started
I'll
hearing
be
about,
sure was one of the first to do it. Yeah.
yeah, because then thereafter we started hearing about Marley Marl and and stuff, and so yeah. Then did you get involved when he did I Want Somebody? Were you involved with the production with Heavy D and the boys with Albie?
Oh no, I was not. I was not. I was still in school then.
Oh,
Um, yeah. No, that was 90. So no. But no, that was Eddie. That was all Eddie and Heavy doing their thing. And
okay.
Eddie, by that time, Eddie had his own production team. He created the Untouchables,
No, no, but by
and
1990 though, this I'm talking about that's 1990
yeah. Oh, so I Want Somebody came on that last. Okay, so
on
that
the
came
Peaceful Journey.
probably.
Yeah, Peaceful Journey album.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I was not a part of that.
No, no,
No,
it wasn't. It was no, it was no big time.
living living large.
Living Large. Yeah. So no, it wasn't
Okay.
Living Large. It was the second. It was the one with We Got Our Own Thing. So that
Yes,
was the
yes.
big time. Big
Yes. I
yeah.
remember that one, the second album.
The second
No,
album.
but that was it. That was Eddie's production. He brought in the
Oh.
musicians and everything. I did not play anything on it.
So then what did you do after finishing in effect mode? What were you doing?
Andre Harrell had a girl group called The Girls.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Yes,
Everyone asks about the girls. T
yes.
okay.
Terry Robinson and Tara Jeter and Monica Payne, and they were
Yes.
signed to Uptown Capital, and they Andre was like, get to it, get to that, get this project going, and they wound up singing background to Albie Shore on his tour. So that was another rush job of an album, and just so that they can be ready to go out on tour. But
Oh.
that's exactly what I got into right after In Effect Mode.
What did you think happened that the girls didn't really? I mean, they had one or two singles out there, but it just didn't really blow up like at that time.
Yeah, I to this day I don't know. I don't know. They're really talented songwriters and singers. They were one of the first girl groups, especially East Coast, to do the hip hop. And I don't know. We could point blame everywhere, but they
Mm,
definitely deserved to be bigger than they were, no doubt.
yeah. But you also did stuff for Finesse the Sequence.
Yes, yes. Uh, being a staff producer, signed to Andre, and he said, "Look, I want you to do this. I want you to do rap." I said, "I don't do rap. I don't know how to do rap." And here comes Eddie F in. Eddie said, I'm doing half this, I'm doing half of these records anyway. I'll walk you through it. And a lot of the records had that kind of hip hop R&B anyway, so I had to play. And then we did a rap ballad, which Monica Payne sang on from the Girls. So
Yeah.
those girls are really good too. They were sweet. I mean, they're grown women now, but they were they were so much fun to work with and so talented. But yep, Eddie F was able to help me out, dealing
Okay.
with rap. Yeah.
Were you then starting to get a lot more comfortable in the studio on your own, or did you still need hand holding as
Well, I wouldn't say hand holding, but direction. No, by what I didn't really do any more rap after that. But yes, because now I have my own studio. So I had all the keyboard technology now that I had, at the tip of my fingers. I learned,
mm,
plus everybody else was on the road anyway. But yeah, I definitely felt after the first I'll Be Sure album, now I'm in. Now I feel comfortable. I feel more confident as a musician, as a producer, as a leader. By 89, 90 at all, it definitely, yeah, I felt comfortable.
okay. And so the so after he goes on the road, does Warner push you guys to get the second album out? Because you go triple platinum. Do they say, come on, we need to get you back in the studio?
Yes, yes. I distinctly remember Andre Harrell because Al was still signed to Uptown. So having those meetings with Andre Harrell, and Al B. Sure's on the road. So coming in and playing him records and uh, getting the vibe, the direction. And one thing I learned from Andre Harrell was that second album is supposed to be bigger than the first. You
Yeah.
know, it's supposed to be a continuation of the first album. So it's very, very important. But excuse me, I just feel Al was being pulled in so many different directions, you know, as an artist and these phone lines and all these other things. And it wasn't fair to him because we weren't able to focus like we did and spend time like we did on the first album. We weren't able to do that. But it just because he got so big, you know. But
Oh,
second album, and then you know, and then between the labels, between Uptown and Warner Brothers, you know, one hand didn't know what the other hand was doing, um, and then you know, Al B. Sure had to pay for it. But um, yeah, that was supposed to be the even bigger album, that second album.
yeah. It's because in Nigeria, Misunderstanding was a massive hit for us. Still one of my favorite. But and I know Eddie did that track. But
Mhm.
we were surprised that, especially in 1990, when Keith and everyone else was going up, that it didn't even go platinum. So
Yeah, yeah, it's I we don't know to this day. We don't know what happened. Records were there, promotion, and it just and it took a long time to make that album. It took us a good maybe close to a year to really get
wow,
that going. And I just felt that we didn't have the time to concentrate and focus like we had. I was doing other projects. Albie Shaw was, you know, helping with Joe to See and going on tour. We didn't have the time, you know,
wow.
to do what we needed to do on that second album.
So you didn't get involved with Jodeci?
No, you know, I did writing with Casey Haley. Um, we actually had the Haley brothers help us with Tevin Campbell's project, you know, but I didn't. Devontae was another genius, and he's just an incredible talent, and he had that ready to go. And I'll be sure came in and took care of this and made it sound professional. But no, didn't need me on that. Those
Okay.
four young men had that all taken care of.
Yeah. But then because I know you did stuff with Tevin Campbell. Was that stuff from your first album that you guys gave him, and then
No, no, you know what? I remember that it was a weekend. We pretty much we came up with those. We did 5 records. We demoed 5 records real quick. Um, you know, we brought in Casey and JoJo Haley, you know, to come in and help with the melodies and stuff and do some backgrounds. And Al had everything written. And literally, Nandi, I'll be sure we got the master tapes, jumped on a plane and went to Benny Medina's house. And Benny Medina ran Warner Brothers.
yeah.
And we said, listen to these records. And Benny Medina was like, go.
It says frozen. Oh, cow. Yeah, no, it's not mine. Um, yeah, no, it's not mine. Yeah, it's mine because
Oh,
I'm
there
not
we go.
sorry. I'm not
That's
sure what's.
okay.
So, did you fly to LA to see Benny Medina, or were you?
No, it was just these records are done. Let's go. Benny, he didn't call us, nothing. We just Al it was Al. Al just go. Let's be going out there, And we went to his house and said, "You need these records." And Benny was like, "Those are great. Go record them."
Wow.
We picked Tevin up from school, so we could get to the studio early. So that's how we really believed in those records and his talent.
Yeah.
Someone that talented at that age,
Yeah.
it was like, oh no, we got to make sure we get on something like this.
You also did stuff with Ralph Tresvant on his debut album.
Yes. The late great Louis Silas Jr. He was the A&R man, and he came to New York. I remember he was in New York, and I was up at the office, and he wanted some tracks, and he gave me the tracks, and then I get a call from Ralph, and Ralph says, "Oh, I wrote something. Listen to this," and he's singing on the phone, and I'm like, "There we go. It's a good record." Could have been stronger records to kind of fit into what Jimmy and Terry were doing and what Ellie and Face were doing, but hey, that's Ralph Tresvant. He's a legend, and I could have been a little tighter with the records, but big thrill to be on a project with those producers and that artist.
Yeah, but had you met Jimmy and Terry by this time? Because now you got a track on the same album that they have, Sensitivity and stuff.
I met, you know what? I met Terry. I met Terry in Japan, and then I would run into him, at times, but I didn't meet Jimmy yet. So to this day, Terry is, every time I see Terry, it's like a party. I love Terry Lewis, just a warm and humble, talented man. But I think I met Face in LA that same year. So I felt I was on that level, but when it was time to get the records going, I'm like, oh man, I didn't come with my A game. I'll say that 30 years later. I didn't keep up, and I got a love for Ralph. We still email each other. We did a record recently, well, a few years ago, but I could have brought him some stronger material on that album.
Oh goodness!
Mm-hmm.
Did you? Well, how did you meet Terry in Japan? What was he doing there?
He let me see. I don't want to tell anyone about his business. Oh, but no, he was with Karen White.
Okay,
Yes.
I was gonna say because I know, yeah, 'cause I've interviewed Karen, so I knew they were married at the time, and she was
Yes.
touring in Japan. So I was just wondering that how come he didn't see, because it's very rare to see the two of them apart. So he would have been supporting his wife. Okay.
And yes, Albie Shaw and Karen White were on the same show.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah,
we traveled
yes.
together. Yes.
Okay,
And
okay.
that's when
Yeah.
I first met Terry. Yes.
Okay, okay. Did you just say, "Hey Terry, I'm Carl. I did the Albie Show." So how did you?
Oh no. So interesting, because Karen was Warner Brothers, she kind of knew me and Al. She knew Al. And then
Yeah.
she actually introduced me to Terry. And then Terry was
Yes.
warm and Terry was nice. And that was the first time I met him. And I just saw him, 3 months ago, and it was like a party.
Well,
So from
yeah.
that one meeting, 30 something years later, he's still a good guy. He's a really good guy.
Did you ever meet Jimmy then? Because
I
cause,
met, yes, I just met Jimmy. I just met him.
oh,
Just met him. Not too long ago. All these
because
years, I always see Terry, but not Jimmy.
because
So,
Jimmy is the you and Terry's the owl, because Terry's the writer and then Jimmy's the.
absolutely. And Terry's a great bass player.
Oh yes,
But
yeah.
yeah, Jimmy's the studio guy. He's, and I let him know how much respect I had for his work. And, I let him know that, when I met him. Hey man, I'm a student. I'm a student. I'm one of your students, So it was a big thrill. Big thrill to meet
Wow.
Terry, Jimmy Jam.
But how was it then working with the legend of Al Green?
Oh wow. See, those it's so easy, It's like we did he already had the song, Mr. Green, Reverend Green, and we just kind of came in and did our thing. But it was so easy to follow because you're following the
Ah,
singer, so we didn't have to really produce vocally or anything. He was just Reverend Al Green. you know, and then we did our thing, and then Albie Shaw came and did his backgrounds and brought it to
Mm.
life, you know, and they were like, even Reverend Green was like, "Wow, that's different. That's I never heard myself like that," you know, and just magical record. It's again, he's definitely an idol, and it was
Yeah.
definitely a lot of respect for him. Yes,
But what did you do any work with Rod Stewart?
we did Benny Medina, um, the label head at Warner's. He wanted to try something, and he gave us the record to remix to see
Okay.
if we, because it was straight rock, what he had, what Mr. Stewart had,
Yeah.
straight rock. And he said, "What can you young boys do?" You know? And we just flipped it a little bit and had some fun with it. And definitely got some radio play back in the day. And I got Mr. Stewart's album hanging on my wall. It was a platinum album,
Wow.
and I didn't get to work with him
Directly.
personally,
Yeah.
but just to say that I have some work with Mr. Rod Stewart is amazing.
And I
Yes,
and I guess he was looking at the success of Jane Child with Teddy and just thought, let's just see if we can get more of that kind of
yes,
stuff. Okay.
yes.
Right.
It,
Okay.
it was a thrill. And most of the times when myself and Albie Shore going to the studio, we have no idea how it's going to come out. We don't. There's no plan. You go in there and you do what you do best. And what we came out with was really good. It was really good. It was fun too.
Okay. I recently interviewed well last week or so, Angie Stone, and she was part of Vertical Hold.
Yes,
And you
yes.
did Let Me Break It Down. Was that a track that
Huh?
you did with them?
Yes, you got some good notes there, my brother.
Well, because I said
Yes,
because I mean, was it full on in the studio with them?
yes, it was. They heard the track. Uh, Angie and her in the group heard the track. I think Dave and Bruno and they wrote it. And they said, "Look, we wrote the song. We just got to go in the studio and record it." And
Oh, guys, it seems to have no, it's my stuff. It just seems to be breaking down. Ah, yeah, it is breaking down. Yeah. So he's coming back in. Um, yeah.
sorry about that.
Yeah, no, it's fine.
I, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Yeah, I don't know. I'll just keep. I'll just keep reconnecting.
Yeah,
Yes.
please, please. So
Okay.
because we stopped when you said Bruno and Dave, you guys got you in the studio.
Yeah, we got to the studio, and I remember we had the session. And by the time I showed up, I was just a little bit late, and Angie had all the vocals down. I'm like, wait a minute, how'd you do that so fast? That's how talented she is. So that record came together very quickly, very quickly.
Did
Hmm.
it surprise you years later when she became Angie Stone, this neo soul whole?
Was I surprised? No. She's just so dope. She's so dope. I'm glad that her management, which at the time I think it was Kedar Massenberg,
Yeah,
um, they were able to find out her niche because she needed to be making the right records. We knew this woman was gifted and sweet. She's very sweet. So I wasn't surprised at the success. I'm just glad that someone was able to put her where she needed to be to do what she does so good.
Yeah. So,
Hmm.
my favorite album from you guys was Sexy Verses.
Hmm.
Um, I like Right Now, Natalie. I mean, that was as I said, loved the album. Um, Two things. I was surprised it had an R rating, and I was very disappointed that it didn't get to blow up, which it should. So, what was the story behind Sexy Verses?
Very good. After the second album, Albie Shore wanted to go back to the basics. Now he knew what he does best. And the mid tempos, the ballads,
Mm.
the lush plush vocals and music. He wanted to go back to that, and we were able to focus that time. We were able to block out time where we could just do what we do best, and most of it we did, together. And we thought we knew we had something that was really good. We knew this could be just as good as the first album. We knew it. And just there was a lot of restructuring, with the record companies, and it just got lost. It got lost with the promotion and the marketing because both sides, of the Uptown and Warner Brothers, everyone was kind of starting to do a little restructuring, and that project got lost. That you're absolutely right. That was a special project.
Yeah.
That album, yeah,
What was an
beautiful
R
sound.
rated, or what was there? Was there a conscious thought about, well, let's not make it R, because at that time an R rated did seem to, we had Luke and T.I.V.I.N crew. So when you see an R rating, it's almost like, wow, I wonder why it's an R rated. But
I don't know. I mean, you know, we were raised together, so he wasn't using profanity. What was it that made this quote unquote a little obscene? I don't know. To this day, I don't know why it would get that. It
I said R,
definitely
yeah.
was a problem. Yeah, it definitely was a problem because I didn't see anything that parents had to be wary of, for 18 and unders to listen to. But I definitely think it definitely affected the success of that album.
So at the time, that's around 92. So you had Uptown they had Mary, Jodeci had, they had Father MC, Mary, Heavy was coming out. So they were just almost on an upward spiral. Who's responsible for promotion then? Is it Uptown or is it left to Warner Brothers?
It was both, but mostly it was Warner Brothers. They're the ones cutting the checks. Um, they had most of that responsibility, and just they were going through some things at that time, and the focus wasn't there with his billboards. He was supposed to have billboards, across the country, and I remember in LA, and those things didn't happen, because they were telling him this when we were making the album, and then once it came out, it was no one was there to do these things for him. And
Had Benny left or was he still around?
he was kind of almost out the door a little bit.
Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was happening, so
Oh, boom, you got it. So yeah, it just he couldn't get the and then Benny and got him in the Fresh Prince, and
yeah.
Quincy got him in Vibe and every so all that was going, and then it just they weren't able to promote him and market him the way he expected, and the album again had to pay for that. It's not
Well,
fair.
for yourself then, as the producer, what is it like when the work doesn't get the exposure? How are you responding to that?
Now, indeed, there's nothing I could do. I got it's an industry, it's a business, it's a job. I got to go to the next project anyway, but yeah, and this is my family, my cousin, and you want his project and all work to do the best that it can, but you can't sit back and blame anyone because they wouldn't care anyway. Um, so you just got to do what you do and what you're in control of, you know. And I remember, you know, Albie Shore would call, and management and everyone would call and say, "What are you guys doing?" You know, and they're 3,000 miles away, you know, in the, you know, on the West Coast, and they don't want to hear it. They're going to do what they want to do anyway, you know. And the artists, their work has to suffer. It's just, it was never fair, but it happens today, happens every day, and it's still in this industry.
At this time, how much did you realize what you get signed when you were 21, the ins and outs of the publishing and all that stuff? How, but by this time, were you aware of everything? And
um, let me, you know, no, because there was income coming from everywhere, you know. So you didn't know where it wasn't coming from, you know. So, and then, but a few years later, you know, you're like, yeah, whatever happened to this? And it's like, you never got that, you know, you never got this payment, you never got that. So I'm like, well, what was all that other money? That was coming from something else. So you realize, which maybe 5, 6, 7 years into the game,
wow,
that you signed something, that you signed away your rights to something, you know.
wow.
Didn't realize it until 7 years later.
So Andre Harrell's final interview before he passed away was with Kenny Burns, and he did the interview maybe a month before he died, and he then mentioned about the infamous day when Gene Griffin came to the house, to the studio, and to hear Andre Harrell tell it, it was the fact that Teddy was in the car, and Gene comes to the house and says, "I need you to sign over his publishing, and that you held on to." And you know, and so that was, so when you know that's all the things that he signed over to Uptown. Gene was like, "I want you to sign it back to me because I'm out of prison and I'm in control of this stuff."
Mm-hmm.
And that's where and Andre was probably trying to like, well, no, 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 and then you know the altercation, and Jimmy Love says that the day that Andre got slapped, that it was almost like, you know, that day, you know, it was that he remembered that day as well. But it goes to show how there were people behind the scenes that knew the value of all the stuff, but everyone else was just oblivious to the ins and outs, and which is very sad and unfair to our very creative young Black artists. And not everyone had the opportunity to have a Clarence Avon help like they did with Jimmy and Terry. Oh, are you still there? All right, it is. Got the anti-stone. Oh, yeah. It's got frozen there. Down. So, oh. So guys, yeah, I don't. There seems to be some technical glitches here. But our hope is, yeah.
There we go. I'm
Okay.
back.
Yeah. So, yeah. So I was just saying that on Jimmy and Terry, and even we're very fortunate that Clarence gave them an ins and outs of everything. And so we've lost a lot of our young creators because they just didn't have that. You were there in the office at the time. Was it a scary thing to witness the aftermath of that?
You know what, Namdi? It's so interesting because I was not there when it happened.
Okay.
And what happened, I showed up a little later
Oh,
that
on the
day.
same day. Okay.
Same day. And um, you know, I'll tell a little bit my business. I got my new car and I wanted to come down and show it off. And I go in the office, and Andre, if anyone knows Andre, he's just always in a good mood, dancing. That his $1 million smile. But when I walked in that door, he was not smiling. You could tell something happened, and I didn't know what it was. And he was just down and looked sad. And then I went downstairs in the office, and then someone told me what happened. And I was like, "Oh my God, you seriously?" Because this is at that time his office was where he lived, you know.
Mm.
So whoever's after him knows where he works and lives, you know. And I'm like, "Wow, that's crazy." And then I remember going back upstairs, and Andre came in and he said, "Yo, yo, you caused all that." You know, Andre was coming back. You know, we didn't see this part of the business, and now it's right in front of us now. You know, um, we, we young, we heard about these days. You know that someone would come to his office and do that, and I had all these years I never knew why. But because as you just told me, but that's very very scary, very scary.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, as I said, it's one of the things that it's still disappointing within black music. But then by this time, what does that change for yourself? Are you more are you researching more, or does it just it's just a thing?
Oh, I'll tell you, you know what? I'll be honest. Um, I I knew what kind of people I didn't want to be around because I didn't know, you know, I'm 21, 22. I don't know these people. Older people who were veterans, I was wary of because they knew how the
Okay.
game worked. So if they were like over 30 or 35, I was like, I know where they come from. And I was a, suburban boy. So I couldn't judge these people because I didn't know anyone like them.
Mm,
So yes, it did. It affected knowing who I was around,
yeah.
you know. And because every at that time everybody wanted to be involved with us or with me. And there was no way I could figure out who was who because I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
But I just wanted to make sure the way I did that was I stayed more to myself over the years, and only took on other people who came with a reference.
Oh, wow.
Like, oh yeah, I know him. If I didn't know you, I couldn't be in your circle. You know.
Wow. But how did it
Mhm.
change you, the fame and success, and the money? How much did that change your personality? And
Um, you know what? Again, especially with publishing and all that stuff, I didn't know how many people were involved. I knew, like for instance, with my publishing, it wasn't only me. There was 10, 15 other artists, producers that signed that same piece of paper. Excuse me. So I didn't take it personally. My parents, God rest their souls, it wasn't a good thing. And my parents said, well, this company and this man, they're in this for business. They're not in here to be your friends.
mm,
So they did business and you got taken advantage of. You gotta learn. And then by that time now I have representation and management and lawyers, but it's too late. Nothing you could do unless you do it the way Teddy did it. So it's unfortunately part of the learning experience. Hopefully people coming into the industry now, you listen to the people that were in the game before you
mm.
and understand what this is all about. This ain't games. This ain't making music. It's a business.
Yeah. But then personally, the success and the money, how did it change who you were as a person, your lifestyle, I mean, and your personality?
You there?
Yeah, I'm okay. I'm here now. Yeah,
There we go.
yeah.
Cool.
So I was
Uh,
saying, did
I,
the success and stuff change who you were, personality?
no, no, it didn't. Again, just my family would not allow that. I was same regular guy. Um, I understood I got to get better at what I'm doing. You know, yeah, you got a little bit of success, but you still got music changes. And if you're not talented enough to change with the change, you're gonna be in trouble. So I was always motivated by learning and getting better. I always treat people the same way. That's where I was raised. Um, I think me not being someone out in front with a high profile, there was no personality to change.
Okay.
So I've always been the same guy all these years. I never had to be someone else for the public.
Hmm.
It's just the same guy.
Now, there's the blessing and the curse of being so well associated with Albie Shaw. So when he is popular and everything, then you go. But when after his third album doesn't do as well, how does that affect people coming to Cal West for production?
Good question. Music changed, and I was just saying that before. The music style changed, and that sound was not in anymore. So that phone was not ringing like it used to.
Wow.
And yes, of course, there's going to be less work. And you know what? You got to do, if you're talented, you got to be in the middle. You got to do what you do best, but you got to try to make your work be current. And it's not easy because even if you do make a record that's current, and it sounds like what's on the radio, your name is associated with another sound.
Mm.
So those A&R people would be like, oh, I don't care what it sounds like. It's probably going to sound like what he did 7 years ago, and be like, no, we don't want that. So you got to, that's where it's kind of like you got the right situations got to come back. And I was lucky enough to have that, but also the right time and the right A&R, because someone's willing to take a chance on something different.
Yeah.
But absolutely, when that musical style changes, it's definitely going to be a change.
Now, one of my favorite guests who's been on my show twice is Donell Jones, and you did one of his best songs, "Where I Want to Be." And I think
Yes,
many people might be surprised to know that you actually co-produced or you produced it with him.
yes. There's that name again, Eddie F. You know,
Ah,
um, he now had his own label and production company, and work was slowing down for me for a while. And Eddie just said, "Look, we're having a party at my house. One of my artists is going to be here. You two go into a room and get together." And Eddie had nothing to do with it. Just he made it happen. And we met with myself and Donell, and we clicked and clicked. And even though he didn't like the music I brought, but he said, "Oh, but you got the style that I'm looking for." So maybe a month or two later, just a month, Eddie set up a session, and I went over to meet with Donell, and now we're gonna do something new, like nothing. I'm not playing. We're doing creating something. Our session in literally the first 7 hours is not going well,
oh,
and yeah, 7 hours, and then he said, "Look, instead of you playing me something, let me sing something to you, and you play." But I said, "Sure," and he sang me the song, and I played a little bit, and he was his beautiful, beautiful kids, and his kids would come in the studio. He's playing with the kids, and I'm playing. And in an hour, I'm like, "All right, look, I did this. Hope is good. See you later." Because I'm like, this didn't go great. And then literally a year later, I run into Donell at a party at Eddie's house, and he goes, "Man, they love that record over at LaFace." I'm like, "What record?" You know, we didn't do anything. And he said, "No, that little thing we did, at the end of the session, And I said, "Really?" And I'm jumping up and down. I said, "Yo, Eddie, what song is he talking about?" He goes, "Yeah, no, listen to it." And he said, it was L.A. Reid's favorite record, and um, you know, Donell put it together. He added the African drums, and um, it's it turned out to be a legendary record.
But you
Yeah,
didn't. So you didn't go back to produce it with him. You just left that part there.
yeah. I just played all the music, and left. And
Oh,
then, so all he had to do was just he added some drums to it, and the guitar player came in, and but yeah, the music was already done when I left. And then he
okay.
he recorded it and everything. He just kind of mixed it and put his vocal and some stuff on there, and I, I had no idea. And it's the special. He made this special record. Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But
It
then,
took an hour.
wow. I mean, but then from that, did things open up then, or how did it? I mean, other opportunities then, because they listed you as the producer of the track.
Yes. That again brought more work, and then I was going through some things, personally, and I wasn't able to take advantage of it then, 99, 2000, 2001. And I kind of missed the boat again. But being able to have that record on my resume gave me a whole new identity,
Mm.
because now the obviously the New Jack Swing wasn't in, but the Neo Soul was in.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And this is what they considered neo soul. So now I'm getting calls again, and my business wasn't, put some personal things going on. I wasn't able to really.
Oh, so good. Freddie Jackson. Good. Shanty. Good. Um, and then, oh goodness, I appreciate you
There we
coming
go.
back. I
There we
appreciate you
go.
coming back. Um,
Mm-hmm.
you went and did some stuff with Ashanti. Was this after she left Murder Inc.?
I'm not sure. Another producer brought me in on that. A good friend of mine, Jannard Parker. He
Okay,
had the connection with the. I think she left Murder Inc. by that time, and
okay.
he brought me in, and we did the track together. And he kind of directed me to the people. He got the song recorded and written. Um, but yeah, that was someone again, knowing good people. Someone brought me in and made that song happen. So I actually never worked with her in the studio on that
Oh,
record. I just did
okay.
the track at the studio, and then my partner Janelle Parker went and got the song recorded.
Okay. Then what about Freddie Jackson?
Oh wow, that was a lot of fun. Um, very very good man. You know, very. This is mid '90s. Very successful artist at the time. He was just so humble and warm, and working with him in the studio, just amazing singer.
Mm.
He could do smooth, and he could do R&B, hard R&B. He was a lot of fun to be in the studio with too. Good man, good song. Um, I consider him a friend. I haven't seen him in years, but a good man, really nice man.
Yeah, because back in the late eight in the 80s, mid 80s, he was probably, him, Luther. I mean, he was one of the biggest R&B stars in the world. I mean, he was big in Nigeria. Freddie Jackson.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, he was managed by Rush at the time, and my manager at the time, Dominic Trenier. He made the connection, played them the songs already recorded, and management and Mr. Jackson was like, "Oh, this is nice." Went in, we did maybe 2 sessions. He would go right down the track, no stop start, right down the track. He gave me maybe 3 or 4 tracks, pieced it together, and his personality, just a nice man, good man.
Wow. And then after about 12 years, both you and Al returned with Honey, I'm Home for Hidden Beach. What was there much of an expectation for that track album?
Yes, yeah, because we were getting back together, and we had nothing but time. We spent time together. We lived together a little bit during that time to make that album, and we were demoing, and we knew we had something special. This was I'm remembering back now, and the process was smooth like it was 20 years earlier. And he had his chops, and I had my chops, and um, we were excited about that. We were, and I wasn't too privy to the business side, but it just, the first single, "Papi I," was a really good song,
Mm.
and it actually did chart. But the rest of the project, I don't know. I don't know what happened.
Wow.
Yeah,
My goodness. Yeah, that's the industry part. I mean, in some ways it could be luck. In some ways it's just um, the label just using the name, using the name and not trying to thinking that way. We don't need to do too much promotion. People will just buy. But at least by that time, the industry of how we buy music changed. So,
yeah,
um,
yeah.
yeah,
He. I'll be sure was ready for that project. He made it happen. He sought the label. He was now a businessman. He was in control of more.
mm,
He took the creative process more serious for that album. He knew what he was as an artist, and he put it. We just put it all together. We had some other producers that also brought good records, and yeah, I that record should have done better. Yeah.
yeah. So when I told people that you were coming on, so hey, one of the questions that asked Kyle, does he remember he produced a track by Cheryl Ann called "I'll Wait Too Long" from '88?
Yes. Wow. 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 I remember excuse me. Yeah, Cheyenne.
Oh, Cheyenne.
Cheyenne was, yeah, she was cool. She had this vibe about her. New York, uptown vibe. She was down. I love her. And in the studio, that record, we had no idea what was going to happen. It was on Capitol, and it didn't really get going here in New York where we lived. But Warner Brothers would call me in Los Angeles, 3,000 miles. I said, "It's a big hit out here. This record's a hit." I'm like, "Wait a minute, why is it a hit here?" And that record just took on a life of its own. Again, Cheyenne was so, that record was her, the energy she lived at, and she had that energy about her. It was easy to make the record for her because it was her.
Mm,
Yeah, I think about that record a lot, and the process of making it was so much fun too.
okay.
Hmm.
Also, ask him, does he know about the group Key West that was signed to Uptown?
Wow. That's the saddest part of my career because it was my group. I was in the
Oh,
group.
oh.
Yeah.
I thought you said
Uh,
you didn't sing like your dad.
well, I had three other artists in the
Oh,
group. Terry Robinson came over from the
oh,
girls.
oh,
She was,
Terry.
yeah, she was in the group, and Tabitha Brace sang background for I'll Be Sure, and the late Dominic Trenier was who turned out to be a manager. We were all in the group, so it was four of us, and we had some cutting edge New Jack R&B, and we lived together. It took us 2 years to record the album.
Wow.
MCA, the whole industry was like, they're going to be huge. We had this creative thing about our video and everything. And some business stuff happened, and it didn't. We broke up. You know,
Wow.
I yeah, I let my anger and get to me, and um, we broke up, and we must have recorded maybe 25 songs, and I broke up, and then Dominic left, and I'm like, wait a minute, you did all that work. I mean, what I would have told myself then
And yeah.
is, you did all that work. You got to let this come out, you know. And then once you broke up, other projects and labels would try to poach the songs. Oh, I want that song. I want this. That's how good the songs were. And we took almost 3 years for it not to come out, and it's a waste, because that was my group with my name, and we never let it come out.
Wow. What happened to all the songs then? How many of them came out, got released?
Ah, maybe one or two. I remember this new group at the time wanted one of them, and it was SWV, and and the writer said, "No, I want that for my album." And boy, that's these opportunities, that are right in front of you. So a lot of these, I'll Be Sure took one of the tracks from one of the records and made Right Now, which went number one for
Oh, I
him.
love that song. That I really love Right Now. Oh
That
goodness.
was a sweet song. Thank you. Thank you. So
Yeah.
people just poached that album, the Key West album, and it's like, if it would have ever came, people say that today, like, oh, can I get a copy of that? We're talking 20 years later, 30 years later.
Did you have
And I'm not,
promo and everything done?
I know we were ready to go. We met with the video guy. The video guy was photo shoots, and then something happened, and I got angry, and everybody got angry, and that was it. And then I moved to LA. So just, those bad that was bad. That was a bad situation, because those records would have changed my career.
Yeah. After all those time though, but like people like Terry, do you still have you guys civil?
While I Terry's like family.
Okay.
I spoke to Terry very recently, and I think it was on New Year's. We're still writing together. We always
Okay.
write together. Oh yeah. And Tabitha, the other girl in the group, I just spoke to her a few days ago. You
Okay.
know, so we were like family then, and we still are.
But then okay, I know there's no chance of a Key West reunion.
We thought about that 10 years ago. I don't know if people want to see, people almost 50, over 50 years old jumping around on stage
Well,
anymore. But
New Edition are just being on going on tour with Teddy and Aaron. So I don't know what you're talking about. The Rolling
you are so
Stones.
right. No, you are so right. Yeah, you're right, because we're still making records. Me and Terry, we're still, demoing records. So you never say never. Never say never.
Yeah, I mean, but what are you doing now? Because as I said, you kind of disappeared from the limelight, and even as industry changed, what's been happening with you now?
Well, I started my own label, Collective Records.
Oh
I,
yeah, you came up with Slick. Is it there was a
yeah,
track you.
yes. With Ricardo Williams.
Yes, yes, I remember that being
Yes,
promoted on. Yes.
yes, and that record was great. Ricardo was incredible. He's right out there with you in London, and I try to do it independently. And that's hard. It's just hard, because it's not even making records. You got to know how to do the marketing and promotion. And so I took a step back, but I got some talented people on the art, on the label, writers and singers and producers. I got them on the label, and we got records. We're just trying to get the right situation to get those records out. So I'm still creative, and I got some creative people around me, even working with Eddie F still, again. So I'm still in the studio, and hopefully something will come out real soon.
Okay, so you haven't left the music industry, so because yeah, okay.
I'm still doing it, Yes.
Wow. And so just as just as we just wrap up, because it's been really fascinating and great, but when you do see the industry has changed in a way where it's all streaming, all digital, money wise isn't as easy. So people are now going on tours and stuff. How do you see yourself as a producer being able to make a living from that if you're not going on tours and stuff and getting a big TikTok viral stuff?
Yeah. It's hard. The money isn't anywhere near what it used to be. The major labels, even the smaller labels, they want to do business with you. So you have to get your records and your artists, you got to get it to a certain point now where they'll do business with you. Then the money's fine. But back in the day, as you know, labels were into artist development.
Yeah.
They don't do that anymore. We'll put the money behind you to develop you. No, you have to do that now. So, and that's where the streaming and the social media, that's part of that's your lesson, your crash lesson in promotion. If you can get that artist, whatever that artist does, if you can get them to do well on social media and sell globally, then you'll have a record company, a big one or a small one. Then they'll come in and do business with you. They're not going to do your business for you. And that's the one thing you need, that young people have to know about the industry. That's the big change.
So with that, is the hope that Collective Records will partner with a major of distribution, or what's the hope?
Yes, Namdi, I totally, I know that's going to happen because the records are there, the talent is there, the artists are there, that's all there. Again, you have to find the right situation. There've been some situations that have come over the last two years, but it has to be the right situation. Because one thing that I know for sure is that the records, and that's what I control the most, the records are there. So it's just a matter of time where that right situation, someone's going to, and anybody out there listening, give me that opportunity to get my records in your hands and support my artists and support my producers, and everything is going to be just good.
How can people find out about your what you're coming up with, your music and your labels? Is there, because I noticed you've got an Instagram but you haven't used in almost 10 years. So how do we find out what's going on with Kyle West?
No, I got a crew. My business partner Andre Hendricks, and Leo Marion and Leo Blaze. They handle most of that. I know, but Collective Records is the website that we have, with a KOLLECTVIVE Records, and records, RECORDZ.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's spelled a little different. That's where all the artists are and some of the records, and quite sure people can connect us through there. I got a Facebook page for myself. I am not the biggest social media guy, but please, if anybody, you got some talent, you got some records and some, please find me, because I'll get back to you, because I'm always looking for talented people.
Oh, you say you're looking for talented artists to work with?
Absolutely. I mean, I got a nice stable, and I got some good, talented people. But you never turn away because you may be able to direct people to other people also.
Okay.
So you never turn away talented people who are hungry and ready to work and that are creative and love what they do. Because even if it's not for me, it could be for someone else. And if I
Yeah.
can help, I'm all about helping people. So if I can help someone direct them to somewhere else, I'm all for it.
Okay.
All for
So they can go to they should reach out to Collective Records.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Email address is keywestmusic at yahoo.com. That's KEYWESTMUSIC at yahoo.com.
Okay. I'll put that out there. My my my
Please.
my niece is a singer, writer, songwriter, producer.
Okay.
Um, she plays bass and the guitar, plays
Wow.
keyboards, and she writes and very much of the um yeah, a cross between Jasmine Solomon and and
Wow.
those kind of things. So, but she's here in England, so it's a little bit different being an a sort of a soul singer in the UK because there's not the outlet as they are in the States.
Right. That sounds like a talented young lady. Yes. I'd
Yes, I
love
will.
to.
I will send her your way as well.
Please
Um,
do.
so when I end, I always ask my guests that if you were sort of stuck in an elevator and you needed to watch your favorite movie before they got you out, what's your all-time favorite movie?
All-time favorite movie. I tell you right now, I am a Martin Scorsese fan, and I love Goodfellas, which came out in
Oh
1990.
yeah, yeah, that was
Um,
good. Yeah,
it puts me in a frame of mind. Look, I'm not a violent guy like the movie, but
yeah,
it puts me in a frame of mind where this is my world, and you got to
yeah,
make it happen, and you got to, you know, can't be selfish like they were in the movie, but
yeah,
it can't take from people, but be it's your world to help people.
yeah,
So Goodfellas is just always that movie to get me going, to go out there and fire it up and tackle the world. So I love movies like, guess what? Ghost, I thought was an incredible
oh
movie.
yeah, yeah, Garuba, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
with Cooper Goldberg.
incredible. Um, Steven Spielberg is a genius when he did Jaws,
Yeah,
in
yeah,
75.
yeah,
We're scared by this monster that we rarely see. So
really, yeah.
those are three that really jump right out at me. Yes.
Okay, and then what about your all-time favorite song? By any artist that you just love listening to?
Uh I tell you, I could listen to anything by Stevie Wonder. My Cherie Amour is like
Oh,
the perfect.
my show. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, yeah, unfortunately. Anyway, this is the end, guys. So sorry about that. So you
There we
just said
go.
that my Syria more is the perfect.
Yeah, it's just the perfect record, perfect song, just the melody and everything. But Udis Love Is So by I'll Be Sure. Um, um, Trying to think of some other records that just come right out at me. Sands of Time by SOS Band.
Hmm.
I listen to some straight. I'm a big Beatles fan.
Okay, yeah.
Burt Bacharach, who just
Oh
passed
yeah,
away,
yeah,
and his records with Dionne Warwick. Just song people. I just can't get enough of them.
yeah. Wow. I think,
Mhm.
but then finally, now Albie shows. I've been in touch with him a numerous times, and he follows me on everywhere just because I've been very supportive of his recovery and stuff. Are you guys ever gonna make music together?
Absolutely, absolutely. I spoke to him last week, and I was mad at him because I'm like, and he was like, "What did I do? What did I do?" I said, "Man, you got to take care of yourself. We got so much more work to do. You know, we got to stay in good health. So, and then get strong because when we get back together, you know, we're gonna make records. We got more records to make. You know, so we are absolutely going to make more music together."
Okay. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. He's. I know he's looking to kind of come back. And the other person is Eddie F. As I said, we've been celebrating because I think he's been one of those unsung masterpiece people behind the scenes. Because when I interviewed Intro, Buddy and Donell and even Mookie, they all said how Eddie did not do to them what others did to him. Like, that he was like, you guys, here's your, get your lawyers and get yourself signed, get all your publishing. And Donnell says I got everything.
Yeah.
What do you think it is about Eddie that he didn't learn the negative stuff about the business and he turned things around?
Heavy D and Eddie F. They were there in the beginning of the youth movement. Eddie saw things that happened to him, you know, business wise. He saw more than even myself, and how it affects individuals,
Mm.
not just your business, not just the artist, but how it affects that artist's life. And it gives it, you know, the anger and the you want to get people back.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he said, no, let me do it correctly. Let me so that they can pass it forward. Let me teach this new breed how to do it correctly. And he's always been that way. Whenever there were times where I wasn't getting any work or anything, I could call Eddie and he would direct me, you know, because he always had his own, you know, company, but he always looked out for those. And I'll love him like a brother to this day for that. That's why he does that.
Wow. Yeah, because even Donnell says like Eddie would say, "Hey, why don't you produce this?" And he could have done it himself, but he just gives it out. And you in an industry that's known for stealing and taking, it seems like a very rare breed for somebody who's that generous and very giving and like, open about stuff.
Yeah. He's a very honorable man. He really is. Yeah,
Wow.
he's always been that way.
Yeah. I mean, so Cal, just as we leave, I guess, we should we'll and we're making sure everyone follows up with Collective Records, make sure
Mhm.
they keep track of you and stuff. We hopefully will start to see something new coming out from the production side. And also yourself and I'll be sure. What would be
Absolutely.
your top five Cal West productions if you had your five singles that you produce? What would make that top five?
Wow. You know, Night and Day is still one of my favorite records. That's got to be number one. Um, Here's a record that wasn't even a single. Ooh, This Love Is So on the first
Okay.
album, Albie Shaw's first album. Loved making it. It was just incredible. Obviously, Where I Want to Be from Donell Jones.
Yeah.
Um, Alone with You by Tevin Campbell. That's one of my favorite records.
Wow.
Oh wow, the last spot. The last spot, I'm gonna give it to, oh wow. I, I guess I gotta go with I'm gonna go with Soul Sisters by Finesse and Sinquist. Because
Wow.
that was a lot of fun to make also.
Wow.
Soul Sisters, yeah.
Right now doesn't make it. Is it right here?
Yeah, no, you know what?
Let's give it
That would
down.
be number six. That would be
Okay.
number six. Working with Finesse and Chris was so much fun. And on
Hmm.
that record, it just came together. It's one of my first hip hop kind of records. It was a lot of fun. It was a
Wow.
lot of fun.
Now I'm going to check that out, and then also hopefully we'll get to see Key West, in some form, because we're into vintage and nostalgia stuff, and those are the things that really do. The Who, the Rolling Stones, they all come back out, and we all and
Very
they
true.
and then but so, and as I said, Guy. I just spoke to Damien last week just to promote, just to
Mhm.
tell me about what's going on. So it
Yes.
they're doing it, So
Hey, never say never. That's right, Namdi. Never say never. So yes, you might hear
yeah,
from Key West again.
yeah, yeah. But Carl, I really appreciate it. It's a pity we had the issue with the technical difficulties, but I really appreciate the fact that you took your time. You were able to dial back in. It's been a
Absolutely.
blessing. Um, I think what we do need is a few pictures of you, because I need to, when I'm putting this out, people are, we,
I will get. You know what? I'm gonna work on that tonight. I'm gonna send you some pictures tonight.
yes, please do. And oh, just quick, did you do anything with Johnny Gill?
Yes, yes. I ran into him a few months ago in L.A. We did I Would Die, a record called I Would Die.
Okay,
Myself and Albie Shaw, we did the record together for him.
okay.
Magical voice. He
Mm.
made it sound so easy. I haven't seen Johnny in a while. I ran into him maybe 2 months ago, and it was like a party. So
Wow.
he's good people, good people.
You're credited with a song, "Take It Back" with Nefertiti and Fat Joe.
They um they took one of our songs and just kind of flipped it, so I get a writer's credit on it. Um,
Okay.
that song is a great song,
Yeah.
and I don't really. And I'm here in New York. It's a New York-based record. I don't hear that record on the radio, but that record, they did a great job on that. Fat Joe and
Yeah.
that and Nefertiti, great
Nefertiti
song.
and Fanny. Yeah.
But yeah, but
Yeah.
but
Okay.
they took an Albie Shaw record and kind of flipped the chords around and made sure that we got publishing on it. So
Okay. Okay.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
No. And I know Nefertiti. So when I did see that, I thought, oh, I was going to ask about, oh, how was it like working with you? But now I kind of got understand what it is. Okay.
Yes, she
Yeah.
flipped it around.
Oh, okay.
Good
Well,
job.
who are your top five producers then? Just as we finish.
Wow. Um, this could get big. Let me see.
Top five.
For me, see Quincy Jones, Stevie Wonder, Jimmy and Terry, um, Barry White,
Oh,
um, the way he put together those records. Teddy is like family. I mean, it's got a Sir George Martin. What he was able to do with those Beatles records. You know, um, there's just so many of them that I listen to. Valerie Simpson. You
wow.
know, yeah, I've heard some of her Motown recordings. Um, Funk Brothers. I still listen to. So I got so many,
You
but
got
those top five. That's I kind of craft my records around those five. Barry White was able to, God rest his soul, put a full orchestra on top of disco beats and R&B beats. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Earth, Wind and Fire records, Cool in the Gang records. Back with the bands, just George Clinton. There's
Mm.
so many of them that created a sound that we all kind of pick and choose. But from Teddy up, it's those are the top five.
The one thing you did was mention Full Force, and I think a lot of us keep forgetting that they were producers as well, and really, really good producers. And they did put because we remember them from House Party and when they did Alice, I Want You for Me, but we forget that they actually were a really talented production crew around that time as well.
That's right. Writing, they're writing songs that you'd never know they wrote. So very talented to conglomerate of talent in full force. Absolutely.
And then the Devontae Swing, did you see him and think, wow, this guy's really, really good? I mean, did you then, does it lift the pressure on you as to what you're doing as a producer?
No, it didn't. Devontae was one of the first artists that could do everything. He was musician, producer, writer, arranger. He did it all. And he always showed me respect. You know, he he told me, "Oh, I learned this from you. I learned that from you." So he did his thing and I did my thing. So I never looked behind me. Probably people have passed, but you got to just do what you do, and you borrow. You respectfully borrow. And Devontae was one who came up to me a few times and said, "How'd you do this? How'd you do that?" So we've always had a good respect for each other, no doubt.
Yeah, wow. Yeah, it's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he's definitely a legend. And then yeah, and so many of them came through the 90s where the producers became the signatures, Jermaine Dupri, R. Kelly, Timbaland, the Neptunes. I think when all that was happening, did you start to think, wow, you know what? It became the producers market as opposed to the artist market?
There's no doubt about it. They were producers and Puffy, you know. I
Yeah,
mean,
yes, yeah,
you
perfectly.
know, bigger than that. So you could see where the movement was and how the artists kind of filled into what they did. So that's what the whole '90s was about, you know. So that was I enjoyed it. I didn't have that type of personality, that upfront personality. Um, I wish I did, but yeah, I like that it was now the producer's day, that producer's decade. You know, it's good to see that.
Yeah. Okay, Cal. So that's track you did with Rico. That's gone. It's like you put it out. It's gone. The
It's not
what?
gone. Yeah,
Okay.
it's not gone. You know, I won't want. I don't want to do anything with it now because it went top 10 on the independent charts.
Wow.
But yeah, it did very well with the radio. The DJs across the country, they supported the record. But without putting it out correctly, I'm going to lose the record. So what we've been letting Ricardo know is, you know, just wait. You know, once we get distribution, people want to put it in movies. I've had a call or two about licensing it for a movie. So we're just waiting to put it out to reissue it. So that's what
Okay.
we're going to do.
Okay. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, whenever you guys are ready to put a stuff, I'll be sure I just need to know, and then I'll be pushing it out as well because I guess, yeah, the fans are always looking for not retro, vintage, but old school stuff, and
Yeah,
from our old school producers and stuff. So whenever anything's coming out from collective records and stuff, if I know about it, I'll try and promote it from my side as well.
absolutely. You know, I'm going to let you know now. You know that.
Thank God. Well, it is. I'm off to grad school in the morning. Yeah, which is a tough one. But I'm blessed and honored that you were able to have this conversation. I hopefully when we do meet again, we have the technical stuff sorted out.
Yes.
Yeah, but yeah, if I get some of those pictures, that would be great. Because my hope is actually to get this out because it's over a week. So I chop it up into different parts and put it out. So my hope is to do it
Gotcha.
over the weekends to start on Monday to
Okay.
all of next week to have it out.
I'm gonna look for pictures tonight and I'm gonna get them to you.
Yeah, please do, Carla. And then yes, and I'm gonna pump my niece over to you just to get have a listen to her stuff to see
Absolutely.
what your thoughts are and stuff.
Namdi, it's been great, man. Thank you so much, brother.
Thanks. Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for being part of the Halftime Chat community. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. But most importantly, why don't you consider being a member? That's a way of supporting the channel, but also getting a lot of videos ahead of time, a lot of behind the scenes stuff, and some exclusive content that doesn't get shared. But anyway, thanks for watching and thanks for being part of Halftime Chat.
sweet.